I have to give accolades out to the offensive line. I'm dead serious. I watch, you know me, when I watch a game, my focus is in the trench. Like
I'm the same way.
If there's not explosive play happening, my field of vision is very small.
Although I will tell you this, so I was at the game with my kids, and I was not watching the line because this is like one of the first games in a long time that I actually walked into the stadium relatively sober.
That's why we're shooting this on Saturday.
Otherwise, I'd be asleep right now. But I wanted to watch the wide receivers because we've talked about it many times about do these guys get open and all this other stuff. So I'll watch the game again tomorrow to really get my own gauge on, because again, I'm typically just watching the lines guy as well, but that's why I'm just going to take your word for it right now as far as how well the offensive line played.
They looked a lot better. There was not, like, the majority of most games that we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years at least, it's just like floodgates are open constantly. Quarterback never has any time. It didn't feel like that today. It never felt like there were times, don't get me wrong, but it didn't feel like this constant, like, oh, Harburg's always on the move. Like his mistakes today didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get back into that yet.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that a little bit later because I had another couple points I wanted to make on him. But as far as positive points, 0 sacks allowed.
Yep.
I don't remember the last time we didn't give up a sack in a game. I'm sure it wasn't that long ago, but it feels like forever ago. We only had 2 total tackles for loss given up.
Yeah.
As opposed to the other side of the coin where we had, I think, 13 total tackles for loss, 8 sacks.
Yep.
That's, first of all, we're not to the defense yet, but holy shit.
That's where I was going to go with the positives.
Well, I wanted to get the weird positives out of the way.
Got you.
Because there were positives on the offensive side. Like I said, the offense, I thought the offensive line played well. I'm going to shout out Bryce Benhart because I feel like I owe that to you because you are by far and away our best offensive lineman so far this year.
Yes.
And I have hammered the shit out of you for the last 2 seasons prior to this. I owe you accolades. I feel like I'm definitely giving you props. But Corcoran actually played better today. I thought he looked more motivated. I thought he looked like he was coming off the ball a little bit better than he had been. He looked good today.
Like I said, I was really focused on the wide receivers, so I can't. I'll take your word for it.
Another major positive that I had written down here is just Emmett Johnson in general.
Yep.
That dude looks like a real back. He actually looks like we just watched the end of the Miami game where A.J. Allen for the second week in a row sealed the game off, sealed the win for him.
Yeah.
I'd love to have him still here, but Emmett Johnson actually looks a lot like A.J. Allen. He's a little smaller.
Oh, yeah.
But the way that he runs in complement to Anthony Grant is super similar to that.
You made the comment about how people have been talking about Emmett Johnson where, he's too small to run between the tackles and all this other stuff. A lot of people talked about it as soon as Ramir Johnson went down, and they're like, okay, Emmett Johnson's got to step in. And I said, and many other people have been saying, that Emmett Johnson is a lot like a Ramir Johnson.
Yeah.
Body size, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, all those things. When Ramir Johnson was starting to get his chance a couple of years ago, everybody was saying, oh, he's too small. You can't run between. And he was running between tackles hard.
Yeah.
Like, he was
those little guys are going to be a hard runner.
And so it's like, I understand the mentality of a smaller running back and you automatically say you can't run between the tackles, but that's not always the case.
No. Well, you've seen that proven in the NFL 1,000 different ways. You look at he's not necessarily undersized from a bulk standpoint, but Rex Burkhead was not a big guy.
No.
Amir Abdullah was never a big guy. Abdullah lived off the edge a lot more than a lot of guys, but in the NFL, he's had to become an inside runner to stay on a roster, basically.
Yep.
But Emmett Johnson also then in the press conference, the kid, we've talked about it so many times, everybody that they fall in love with sounds just like them.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And Emmett Johnson, I'm not talking about like, oh, he doesn't have a certain way of talking. I'm saying they say the same things.
Yep.
They say the same things, they preach the same thing, And Emmett Johnson sounded exactly like that up at the podium tonight.
And that was the first time I'd ever heard him talk. So
yeah. Turn down the brightness on your TV if you're gonna watch, because that motherfucker has neon teeth. His teeth are the brightest white teeth I've ever seen on a human being. I don't know if there was some weird camera setting going on. It made the white end behind him look gray. I don't even know how the fuck he did it, but holy shit. So
maybe he brushed his teeth.
Emmett
right before
Johnson,
he came out there.
I don't know. You need an NIL deal with whatever fucking dentist you're seeing. Hopefully that's on the works for you, man.
That little sparkle on, toothpaste commercials. That's just natural for him.
He smiles and it goes ting. That's what the fuck happens. But along with him, I'm throwing just the youth on our offense in there, because of all the turnovers and of all the slippery hand bullshit that went on in this game, none of it was youth. It was all vets. It was Billy Kemp. It was a lot of Harburg, and I'm calling him a vet because he's been around forever. This is his third or fourth year, right?
Third year.
Yeah. He's not a rookie anymore. No. He's not a freshman. He should.
I understand that he's quote unquote, I guess, if you want to say inexperienced, but he's not. He's not a young player. He's been around.
And we talked about that on the preview show that, somebody mentioned that under Frost, he was kind of just a figurehead on the roster. He was a Carney kid to say that we take local guys.
Absolutely.
He wasn't even getting into the quarterback room for important meetings and stuff like that. So we knocked the kid. A lot of people have torched me personally about beating up on Harburg. He does good things. I don't think he's a quarterback. I don't think he should be leading our team, but I'm not trying to beat him up personally. He's obviously a good guy.
People can come at me. I'm good. Let's go.
But then my last thing that I had listed was the defense.
Yeah, my God. Did you see who was tied for first in tackles for the game?
Matt's not here, but your mama yelling.
Your mom's a yelling.
Oh yeah,
hell yeah! He had 7 tackles,
dude. 7 tackles, 3 solos, a sack, 2 tackle for loss. He and the future is fucking bright for this defense with him and Lenhart and some of the other guys. Oh my God, between those 2 dudes and how much havoc they were causing, and Lenhart. The thing that impresses me the most about Lenhart, I think, is his natural ability to flex straight to the. It's more about when a back is getting out of the backfield, which looks like they're going to slip contain on whatever's back there, whether it's the quarterback or a back. It's like magnets that pull him. He'll move sideways to a guy and make those stops, or at least grab him long enough to get a half tackle and get somebody else there. It's amazing to watch him play. Him and Imam and Yellen is how I guess I think you're. How the fuck are you supposed to say it?
Uman Mielen.
Yeah. Those 2 dudes played amazing. Isaac Gifford again. He's actually the star on defense that I was gonna throw out there if Hutmaker wasn't the guy.
I was gonna say, and I told you when we were watching the end of I think it was at the end of the Miami game. I was like, because a lot of people say Hutmaker. I was like, his name's Hutmaker. I'm calling him Troublemaker because he is trouble for any offense that
with
he plays
capital
against.
T.
My goodness, he is just it. But real quickly, back to your mom's yelling. It was really funny sitting in the stadium with my girls and then my youngest son Dale, and Dale was sitting next to me. And every time they said Uman Mielen, I would look at Dale, and I've told you before, Dale doesn't listen to this. He could give 2 shits about sports. I even told him, I said, you were brought up on the show one time about, watching it. And I literally
it was his fantasy football team.
And I go, yeah, he doesn't watch this. And he just laughed. He goes, sorry. I go, I don't care. But anyway, I kept looking. Every time they brought up Uman Mielen, I looked at my son and I go, your mom's yelling. And he just looked at me like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Dad's losing it. Dad's losing it. He done lost it. I don't know what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
Do I need to call Mom? Something wrong?
Yeah.
That's fucking funny. I feel like we should have Dale on as a special guest sometime. Like when he's just a little bit older Old enough to have a couple drinks with us?
Yeah.
No, it'd be a good chat.
The defense as a whole, man, it's like
they did not hold the rush as well today as I expected them to. We talked about it a lot.
I understand what
really
expectations are.
No, yeah.
But when you hold a team to 2.1 yards per carry,
you're still doing amazing.
I mean,
we've gotten a little greedy.
That's what I'm saying. Greedy. Like, I get it. What the standard that we've set for this season so far, but like towards the beginning or within a couple of minutes, I don't really remember the time on the clock. I remember looking at the big screen and I was looking at the stat line, and Northwestern had 101 yards rushing at one point. And I was like, damn, that's the second time this season. I was hoping that we'd only allow Michigan to be the only team to get over 100 yards so far this season.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, 101, yeah, whatever. They ended with like 83.
81.
Yeah.
81's what they ended with.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.